Welcome to the Blues Society of Northwest Florida's podcast. I am your host, Paul Stadden, and every Monday we talk with blues musicians about their influences, their style, what they feel about the blues, and hopefully you get something out of it. This week's guest, Jim Richmond of Cat Daddy. You can hear them play Monday, March 10th, beginning at 8 p.m. at the Blues Jams, which are every Monday night at Lilly Marlene's in Seville Quarter, and you can also hear them Friday night at Gallery Night in the Courtyard. Sure to be a blast. Jim Richmond, welcome to the podcast. Glad to get you on here finally.
Well, thanks, Paul. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been too darn long, man, and I'm really glad you're able to join me on this recorded thing I do every single week. So let's start from the top about how you got into music in the first place. What influenced you? What made you pick up that ridiculous six-string thing called a guitar?
Well, like most guys in my age group, man, it was the Beatles when I was a kid. I heard those guys playing and thought, wow, man, I got to learn how to play the guitar.
You're not going to lose me talking about the Beatles. So, all right, then who's your favorite Beatle?
Oh, my favorite Beatle? It's a toss-up between Paul and George. George and John are close second. Ringo's cool, but,
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Jim. Getting into music, starting with the Beatles. So what, did your parents go out and buy you a guitar?
No, actually, I had a friend that had an older brother that played guitar, and I would just try to pick on his, and, I wasn't really very good at it. I was actually a latecomer. I really didn't start playing guitar until I was about 18 years old.
Really?
And, I was in the Navy, and I bought my first guitar in Naples, Italy, and that's where I learned how to play, just watching other guys on the ship and learning. Never took a lesson, just played with people that played better than me and picked up lessons from them.
So the Navy let you drag along your guitar?
They sure did.
Huh.
They sure did. We always had, in my rating, my field, we always had, we had what was called a balloon inflation room where we sent up weather balloons, and it was just for us to keep all our gear, weather gear, so there was always room for a guitar or a stereo or something like that.
Well, tell me about your biggest influences. If you had that stereo, being brought along with you, who were the records that you had on? What were the people that you were listening to that got you steered over to the blues side away from that pop stuff with the Beatles?
Well, and there you go. I was kind of a pop guy when I was young. We used to call it bubblegum music. And I always liked it, but, it wasn't until the 80s. I used to listen to Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath. And
Sure.
I had a very wide range of taste. But then I heard, I guess the first one I heard that really did something bluesy that I thought was cool was Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, they were a rock band, but they did some blues songs that just... really I thought were cool.
Well, they kind of brought that American blues thing into a rock setting. Them and Clapton, and even to a lesser extent Sabbath. They took these blues idioms and translated into this arena rock thing. So you had like Dazed and Confused and Babe I'm Gonna Leave You, and
Babe I'm Gonna Leave You was my first real ticket to the blues right there.
If I could fist bump you, I would, but you're on the phone, unfortunately. All right, so you're getting into the 1980s.
One guy from Austin, Texas came along in the 80s.
Oh, Stevie Ray.
It just turned everything upside down. He even gave life to guys like Buddy Guy and B.B. King and Albert King. They were all they were there, but they weren't. And then Stevie Ray come out, and next thing you know, everyone's thinking about the blues again, and it breathed new life into it.
Sure. He had this kind of blues rock thing going, like a lot of the Hendrix idioms where he was doing Voodoo Child and Third Stone from the Sun and his live shows, and then suddenly, everybody remembers, oh gosh, yeah, B.B. King. Oh, that's right. He's a really good guitarist.
And he's the guy that actually wrote that song.
Forgot about that. So, all right, so you're getting through the 80s then. When did you start like gigging, and when did you start getting out playing the music? Were you playing a lot of pop and then like switched over to the blues, or what were you doing?
Well, we played, I started gigging in the 80s, and we always were what we called a variety rock band.
Right.
We would have, current popular songs that we would play, but in every set there was always like at least one blues song. I'd play Red House, or I would play a Stevie Ray song or something. And I'll tell you what, it's been like that pretty much my whole. I'm a relative latecomer with the blues too. My whole life playing guitar until I would say about 5 years ago when I met Mike Bounds at the Blues Society, Northwest Florida, and at the time they were over at the other place. I don't know
the bowling alley over off
bowling alley,
off of Fairfield. Oh my
what
gosh!
A place to play, huh?
Man, I went over there. I'm like, am I going to get shivved over here? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's the location isn't all that great, and I pulled into a parking lot the first time I went there and thought, wow, man, look at all these cars. It's really awesome. Well, they were all bowling.
Yeah.
There were like 3 people on the other side where the actual stage was. But that night I got to play with, it was my first night there. I got to play with Nate Smith. Joe Fingers was there.
Oh, yeah, man.
Those two who I've played with quite a bit now over the past 5 years. I really had a great time. And Jay Platt was there, our MC at the Blues Society.
Yeah.
So that's when I really started getting the bug. And that's when I decided we had taken a hiatus, Cat Daddy, a hiatus from, I had some medical problems and, way over them now, everything's cool. But
Right.
When we got, before we got together, I started going down there and I called the guys up. I said, hey, look, if you're into getting things rolling again, let's get away from this variety thing here and let's play some blues, man. Yeah,
some real music, So how did you get hooked up with the guys with Cat? And why the name Cat Daddy? What is Cat Daddy?
A lot of people ask that. I'll tell you, it was kind of like I used to say, like, "Hey, that's cool, Cat Daddy."
Yeah.
It was just a phrase I used, and we actually at the time we changed our name. I want to say around 2000, the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
We were called Insidious, which was just as weird.
Were you a death metal band or?
No, but our drummer Eddie Ray, his wife's a nurse, and so we brought up a medical book and we looked at this medical terminology book, and we said, look, insidious. The disease was insidious in nature. So we were a 3-piece band. We called ourselves Insidious. Our bass player at the time had other interests. He left, and that's when I hooked up with Don, who currently plays with me now, and his wife at the time, his wife Cindy, was singing with us, so Insidious wasn't really a good name for a band with a girl up front. And,
right.
Like I said, back then we were doing mostly variety stuff, so we just changed it to Cat Daddy because it just sounded cool.
Yeah,
it's different, that's for sure.
That is
Whether
different.
People think it's cool or not, it is a different name.
Well, nobody's going to get confused with any other bands that can be playing around.
That's right. I mean, you got all these other guys with blues and their name, Blues Injectors, Blues this, Blues that, or True. We're Cat Daddy.
Yeah,
so
man.
We still play a lot of that other stuff now. We play nothing but the blues at Lilly Marlene.
Yeah, I love it when you guys get like the rockabilly.
Blues.
That's cool. I love it when you break out the rockabilly though, and you do like the Stray Cat Strut or something like that.
Yeah, I mean every now and then I'll throw something like that in there.
That's cool.
But we pretty much do the blues, and then when we do the gallery night now, we can break out a lot of the other songs that we used to do in the past and show a little variety in what we play. But it'll still be mostly blues.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about what gear you use. I'm kind of a gear guy, a gear nut, and I always like to talk guitars.
And that's funny you ask that because everyone gets. You find a guitar, you find something, and the brand name, is irrelevant. Doesn't matter what kind of guitar you play. It's your fingers that make the noise. I mean, but you have your guitar that you love, and I played your guitar.
Yeah,
and with
I know.
me, it was like, you had different string gauges, and the neck's a little different. For you, it's great. I thought to myself, wow, man, I'd really have to work to play this thing. I'm a Strat man.
I know you are, man. What about your Strat? Why the Strat? Why do you like your Strat so much?
Well, I'll tell you, and it actually has nothing to do with Stevie Ray. I used to have a Les Paul.
Right.
And when we were playing out all the time, that Les Paul got heavy by a second or third set of the night.
Sure, yeah.
My shoulder would start to hurt. Nothing to do with getting old. It's just, that's a really heavy guitar.
That's a 10-pound guitar, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're carrying it around all night long and, jumping up and down with it and moving it around. So I bought a Stratocaster just to see if I would really like the way it sounded, and I'll tell you, I fell in love with it. The first one, in fact, I bought my first Strat here in Pensacola, Blues Angel Music,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a used Strat. I was about 4 years old when I bought it, and I just did a couple minor modifications. I just changed the bridge. I put graphite nuts on it so that the strings wouldn't break as easily because I bend them a lot.
Right, right.
I don't slide up the notes. I'm lazy. I just bend the string to get that note. I squeeze it out instead of sliding up to it.
Yeah, man.
And then the pickups, I took the regular single coils out, and I put Fender pickups on there, but there were those gold lace sensors, so it's a little more bass to it. It's not as chimey as the single coils.
Yeah, as I noticed, you're getting kind of almost like a P90 tone out of your Strat. Kind of like going with that. Yeah. Kind of bridging the gap between Gibson.
I love it. I've got a couple Strats that I use, and the other one is all stock. And when I plug it, it used to be my favorite guitar, but when I plug it in now next to my old Blue there, the one I always play, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't sound the same. I'm running it through a 79 Fender Blues Deluxe Reverb.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Deluxe Reverb, not a Blues. But it's it's a small amp. I used to carry big amps around, but this thing here just has a 12-inch speaker, 22 watts. But I'll tell you what, I can't go anywhere and turn the volume up past 2.
I know. It fills up the room, man.
It fills the room up. Yeah, it's got a great sound. Nothing beats a tube amp.
Oh,
And when I play out Friday at Gallery Night, I'll have an effects board with me with some chorus and delay and things like that, a wah-wah pedal. But when I'm there, just my guitar, a cable, and an amp. That's it. Nothing in between.
Well, let me ask you. This is something I ask every single interview, every single time. I want to get your thoughts on blues as a genre. A lot of these guys are doing like the metal blues, rock blues, jazz blues. You got people who do throwbacks to Delta blues. I mean, is it something where we need to be concerned about, like the blues getting diluted? Can the blues be anything, or are the purists just old-fashioned,
Well, some of them, you and I both know a pretty pure blues player. We took him to Memphis with us.
Oh, yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy is about as Mississippi Delta slide, genuine blues as you can get.
Yeah.
And not just his playing, his voice.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like one of those guys that you would see down in the deep south sitting on a porch of an old shack playing and on guitar that had like 3 strings on it. And that's his style, and I respect it and I admire it. I wish I could incorporate some slide into my work, and I'm working on it. But and he showed me a couple tips while I was down there in Memphis with him. But I don't know, being diluted. Did Stevie Ray dilute it? He took songs that were similar in vein to what Albert King was doing, and just kind of spiced them up a little bit. My style is probably more towards, if you put Albert, Stevie, and Chuck Berry in a bag and mix them up, and out would pour Jim Richmond.
Shake and bake Jim Richmond. I love it.
Shake and bake Jim Richmond, yeah. Chuck, Albert, Steve.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Jim. I really appreciate you taking me the time, and especially on a Saturday afternoon, recording 15 solid minutes, just yakking with me about the blues. Don't forget, you're going to be able to see Jim Monday night, this coming Monday, March 10th, as well as Friday night, March 14th. Both down at Seville Quarter Monday is going to be in Lilly Marlene's. Friday, Cat Daddy is going to be playing out in the courtyard. It's going to be a really fun time. So, Jim, we really look forward to hearing you play. And maybe you can pull out a Beatles tune or two, so you can just give us some throwback.
In fact, you know what? I do have one in my bag I may pull out just for you there, Paul.
Perfect.
And if I may just say before we hang up, if you do come down Monday night, folks, probably around 9 o'clock when we're done, you might see a man named Paul Stadden coming up with his guitar and playing. So
might just
it'll
happen.
Be a good time.
It's going to be a good time. And make sure to bring your guitars, folks, and your drumsticks and your basses and your harmonicas and your trombones. Right. I mean, we welcome a lot of different stuff in there,
That's right. If you play it and you want to go out in front of people, I tell you what, it's a life changing experience getting out there and getting away from your rehearsed set list that you have and just going out there with who knows who. You got a horn player, or a keyboard player, a harp player, a bass player, and a drummer that you've never seen before, and you just start playing.
Exactly. If you want to get your improvisational chops down, that's the way to do it. You got to stand up there with other guys you've never played with before, and it is a blast. Jim, thank you again so much.
All right, Paul.
We're going to pop this up online, and everybody's going to listen to it, and everybody's going to know how awesome Cat Daddy is.
Hey, cool. Thanks, Paul.
Catch you, man.
I'll see you Monday.
So you heard it, folks. Make sure you come down to Lilly Marlene's at Seville Quarter on Monday night, as well as Gallery Night Friday night, downtown Pensacola. Cat Daddy going to be playing in the courtyard behind Seville Quarter. Going to be a blast. Make sure you also donate. Whenever you come down to the Blues Jams, there is a snare drum at the front of the room. Drop some money in to help keep this thing going. So until next time, I am your host, Paul Stadden, for the Blues Society of Northwest Florida, reminding you, keep the blues alive.
From a garbage can.